We now move on to our next session is Stories of the True by B. Jeyamohan, and he will be in conversation with Priyamvada Ramkumar. Priyamvada is a private equity investor and literary translator. She translates from her native tongue, Tamil, into English, along with writer and translator Suchitra Ramachandran. She recently co-founded Moyi, an initiative that aims to bring together literatures from various Indian languages and provides a platform for critical discourse. Of course, B. Jeyamohan. He is one of the most prolific writers in India today, and he has authored more than 200 books, spanning novels, short fiction, travelogues, literary criticism, and essays on heritage and philosophy, amongst others. And of course, this year, his immensely popular collection of short stories, Aram, was translated into English by Priyamvada. So I'm going to hand it over to both our speakers. Now the big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for this next.
Thank you for that introduction and for that very warm welcome. Maybe before I start with questions for Sir, I wanted to share an interesting anecdote. So while the book was getting finalized and it was almost getting into print, at that stage, I got a frantic call from my editor. And I think she was putting together the copyrights page, and she said, "But Priyamvada, we cannot put the standard disclaimer about, this is a work of fiction and it's not based on real people." I said, "Yes, that's true," because all the stories in this collection are based on real people. And so she was asking me, "But do we call this fiction or non-fiction?" And they were very confused, and I finally sent them a picture of the copyrights page in Tamil to assuage their fears. So my first question to Jeyamohan sir is, this is a very sort of unique genre. Biographical fiction is a very unique genre. So when you started writing this, did you have any particular works in mind as inspiration? And where did you, your choices of, the creative liberty that you have taken with the lives of other people, how did that come about?
Good morning to all. I consider myself as a bard, a singer of heroes of our time. That's why I wrote these stories based on real life of people who I know personally. The first story is about an author called M.E. Venkatram and his personal tragedy and his life. See, I know some of my readers are here. I am an idealist of Gandhiism. I have a deep belief on Gandhian ideology and the idealism of Gandhi. And from my age of 25, I have deep faith on idealism. And I met a lot of idealists throughout my life. But at the age of 50, suddenly I felt I am losing my idealism. I become more cynical, and I became more practical. At that time, I tried to reorganize myself. I have to regain my idealism. So I turned back to these idealistic persons. Almost all characters in these novels are real characters based on some idealistic visions. So I wrote the stories to regain myself. So yes, I took a lot of fictional liberty to rewrite their life. I personally feel fiction is telling lies to establish a truth. That's why I wrote out these novels. My novels are, particularly these short stories, are fictions, not biographical notes, but they emphasize some kind of truth. That is, I will call it super truth, some truth beyond truth, timeless truth. So I believe these stories as more powerful lives, the more powerful lives than the real life of that heroes. Thank you.
So the other curious thing as I was translating it that I noticed was almost all of the stories are first-person narratives, except maybe a couple. So is that a conscious decision that you made for this collection? Can you talk about the writing process? You know, how do you come up with the voice of the story, the structure? If you could speak a little about that.
There is a very popular story in this collection. It is called, in Tamil it is Nuru Narkaligal. In Malayalam, Nuru Simhasanangal. And in English,
it's 100 armchairs.
100 armchairs. It's a story of a Dalit IAS officer who was insulted and humiliated in his service throughout his life, and his penury, his anguish, and his salvation. That's a real story, actually. I met the person. Actually, he is a great mentor of me, even now. I met him at 1986 at Sundar Ramasami's house. I narrated the story to a friend at Tiruvannamalai at 1991. And I tried to write a story based on his life on 1998 and 2000. And those stories never worked as a story. So I just throw away that story because I felt that I cannot write another man's life. I cannot write a Dalit's penury through my words. But while I am writing these Aram serial stories, one of my friends phoned me and he asked me, you are going to write that story of that IAS officer? And I said, I cannot write because I am not a Dalit. I cannot enter into the pain of a Dalit person. Though he is my mentor, he is my brother, and he is my guide also. Then after 2 days, suddenly I wrote the story. What's the difference? The difference is, while I am writing first versions, I referred the hero as he, Avan, he. In this version, I referred the hero as me. This is first person narrative. So what's the difference? In the previous version, it has sympathy. And sympathy is an insulting thing. And in this version, it is empathy. I was the Dalit hero. I had that pain. I had that insults in my life. It turned me totally as a Dalit for some days at least. Lot of Dalit organizations published the story as individual book. It has no copyright, you know. These stories has no copyright. Everybody can publish in Tamil and Malayalam. So nearly 1 lakh copies are published in Malayalam. And nearly 1 lakh copies are published in Tamil also. So why I am writing this story as me is, I want to become that heroes. I am not telling their story. I am telling the story of me. The story of the persons who living in me. That's the difference.
Yeah, speaking about 100 armchairs, so many readers have reached out and said that that was such a disturbing story and we could not finish reading it in one sitting. We actually had to take a break and then come back to it. That brings me to the next question. In fact, I would like to quote from your foreword, where you say that these stories do not separate the idealism from the lived life. Instead, they present the dialogue that idealism engages in with the darkness and rot that surrounds it. So, there's this really palpable tension in the book between darkness and light. So there is a set of readers who come back and say that, it's so inspiring to read these stories, but equally there's a set of people who come back and say that they're so disturbing. And it's very rare to find a work with this kind of balance, and I feel that it's also a characteristic of a lot of your other works in Tamil. So how do you find this balance in your writing?
See, balance is the major quality of a classic work. Classicism is based on balance. The balance between reality and dream, the balance between structure and the content, the balance between emotional content and intellectual content. I belong to a classical school of writing in Tamil. Modernists, they don't believe in ideology or idealism. they used to write in a very realistic manner. Whereas romantic people, they believe in ideals, they believe in high emotions, they create some kind of false world. So I am creating a balance between the modernistic writing and the romantic writing. That is called classical writing. Classicism never believes in fake ideas or fake emotions or high emotions. So, see, in these 12 stories, there is no high drama moments in these stories. Only, only realistic narration is there. There is no high emotional charged sequences in these stories. These stories may make you break into tears, but not because of sentiments, but because of some value system is there. I strongly believe that a creative writer's major job is to create or rediscover high values, high axioms in his life and in his writing. I know majority of modern writers won't accept this idea, and I cannot accept that. I lived my life throughout my life. I am a I'm a person who is a continuous quest for high values and axioms. That's why I'm writing all this. Thank you.
Yeah, that sort of beautifully segues into the next question I had. So this is about the story Peacock Blue, Mail Kaluthu in this collection. I think it's one of the stories that's not spoken about much, but it is very close to my heart because I really enjoyed translating this, this particular story. And I think these stories where you're talking about the quest of a writer, that is quite rare. I don't think I've read something like that elsewhere. And this character says that, you know, in a way he's saying that you can throw anything at me, I will convert it into art. Do you see yourself in that character also? Because you've had a very Siddhartha-esque wandering life before you settle down. So do you see that quality in yourself too?
Yeah, many of us, my readers, know that I was a wandering mendicant, a sannyasi for some years. I begged at Tiruvannamalai and Palani and Kashi. I have many lives in this life. So I'm writing my discoveries, my inventions, and my quests. Mail Kaluthu, what's the name of the
Peacock Blue.
Peacock,
Peacock Blue.
Peacock Blue is a story about a writer. I can't refer his name because it's not fair, but everybody knows who is that writer. That is also placing a major question about moral values and art. What's the difference between moral and become artistic? The author chooses become artistic is an ideal way of life. He says, yes, I am an artist. I will not die. I may be a small person in my emotions, but as an artist, I can outlive these silly emotions and I can conquer myself. That's the major idea of that story. So that story is also placing a basic axiom, that is artistic life.
Thank you, sir. Speaking about, you know, I just wanted to speak about the lesser known stories because Elephant Doctor and 100 Armchairs, I think, are probably the most popular. But the other one that I again enjoyed translating a lot was Nutcase, which is Koti in Tamil. And really, as a translator, one of the challenges is bringing across the humor. I think everything else probably can be done far more easily, but transporting humor into another language is much tougher. You know, so again, one characteristic thing in all of your works, whether it is this or even the Abyss, which is coming up next in Suchitra's translation, which is a translation of Era Mulagam into English. You really see humor, you know, shine in these stories, even if it be the darkest of themes. So why do you value that so much? And where does that come from?
I hope somebody can remember Sri Raj Narayanan, the popular politician of our times. He was considered as, still he is considered as a clown. And indeed, he is clownish. But he was an idealist. He was not corrupt person. He was continuously questioning the institutions and the power. He exposed a lot of corruptions and everything. He was a fighter. But he posed himself as a clown. That was our era. At 70s, there was a lot of political clowns, political idealistic clowns. There is nobody like that today. They have a value in any democracy. I personally know a person called Pumedai Ramaya. When I was a student, once I was standing for urinating in a small pathway. I saw him. He is putting his poster, his own poster on this wall of the urinating place. I asked him, why you are putting that poster here? You can put it on a major main road. And he said, nobody will stand and listen in a main road. In this place, everybody will stand at least for 1 minute. They would read this. So that was a very brilliant idea. And there is a clownish idea also. So I had an idea of that person. So I wrote about him. I get great worship of these kind of persons, these Rajanarayan kind of persons, the whistleblowers, the clowns, they are the real fighters of democracy. They are not clowns. Our democracy is making them clowns. So that's why I consider him as a great idealist, a great dreamer, great fighter. So I want to immortalize him. You know, as a writer in Tamil, I was a very egoistic person. I won't bow any political persons. I won't accept any kind of awards from any government institutions. But I am very humble before these kind of idealistic persons. I consider myself as a simple bard singing my heroes.
And you've also spoken a lot about how the best of philosophers have a great sense of humor.
Yeah, there is 3 kind of humors. One is satire. Satire, in a satire, the author places himself as a critic, as a person above all, above the readers and above the persons who are being criticized. The second thing is wit and joke, are simple linguistic exercises. The third one is humor. Humor is actually a vehicle of spirituality and high intelligence. Almost all great spiritual persons are humoristic persons. Once Charlie Chaplin met Mahatma Gandhi, and while leaving the room, he remarked, I met the best humoristic person in the world today. So Gandhi is a highly humoristic person. Narayana Guru is the best expression of Narayana Guru is humor. High poetry and humor is the best expression of spirituality in any language. That's why philosophy can be expressed through high humor and exceptionally high poetry. So while I'm writing philosophy, even in Vishnupuram, highly philosophical work, a lot of humor is there. Not joke, not wit, not satire. I have no respect for satire or joke. I used to enjoy, but there is no place for literature. Joke or, only humor has a role in literature, not satire. Satiric literature, I have respect only one satirist in the world. His name is Saki, S-A-K-I, Saki. Saki is a great satirist. And he wrote a great author. And these satirists like Woody Allen, they are not, they are secondary level writers only. I respect Saki. And I try to like Saki if I am writing satire. But I won't write satire. I write only humor thing.
Is the organizers around? Do we have time for one or two more questions? Okay. I'll just go forward. Okay, great. So, so you just described yourself as a classicist, right? And you've said that before also, that you're a classicist in a postmodern era. And with epics like Vishnupuram, Kottravai, and Venmurasa behind you, I don't think anybody will dispute that. But the question that also comes to mind is, you know, your life has been really colorful, and I'm sure there's a lot of raw material there to have written very personal novels. But instead, you've chosen to, you know, go into history and philosophy. I think these are two subjects that seem to be very close to your heart. In fact, I think again in the foreword of Aram, you say, historical sense is fundamental to literature. So can you talk about why you value them so much?
So I consider me as a writer belongs to a postmodern era. In the modern era, writing starts from the writer and it ends at the writer. My guru, my ancestor, I think my predecessor, Sundar Ramasamy, wrote about himself only. Almost all modernistic writers writing their life only or their time only. Take Vivekananda, he is a great modernist. Writing starts from him and ends at him. So I am not considering myself as a modernistic writer. My quest is historical and philosophical, not personal. That's why I left my home at the age of 19 and begged throughout India to discover India, to discover basic axioms of life, not about some personal quest, personal problems. That's why I am interested in philosophy and literature, in history. I think philosophy and history is two wings of literature. Without that, literature cannot fly. So I dismissed the modernistic era because I have deep questions on history and philosophy. That's why I re-narrated Chilapadikaram, Mahabharata, and all classics. I re-narrated them, I re-expressed them in my main language. I re-examined the basic axioms established by tradition, and I wanted to give more liberal definitions to that axioms. Okay.
We'll probably finish with this question. Again, you've often said that, you know, literary works need to stand on their own strength and not sort of be known by labels like women's writing or Dalit writing. That's only a context from where they come from, but beyond that, they have to stand on their own aesthetics. At the same time, you have also, you know, written a lot about the, you know, lives on the margin, whether it is 100 armchairs or Vellayane, White Elephant, which I'm now translating. So how do you reconcile these two positions?
The best stories about Dalit life in Tamil is written by non-Dalits. That's a problem. So the major question, whether a Dalit life can be narrated by a non-Dalit. Yes, it can be. That's why I am writing a Tamil life. You can read it through English and you can feel that. That's the basic condition of life, literature. That's the basic condition of literature. Literature survives only because there is a condition that any human being can feel other one's penury and quest and joy through words. That's the basic condition of literature. I can feel the struggle of an Eskimo through words. Yuri Balayan wrote a lot about Eskimo life. I can feel the emotion and the struggle of an Eskimo through simple words translated from Russian to English. and then I can read it. That's the basic condition of literature. So literature can communicate anything to anybody. Literature can narrate anything to anybody. That's why literature survives. So I am against any kind of classifications like feminist writing, Dalit writing, marginalized writing, post-colonialist writing, colonial writing. All these are simple labels branded by critics only. If a writer believes in it, he is not a writer. He is a simple propaganda machine. I am also a critic. I will consider these kind of labels. I will consider Chinua Achebe as an American black writer, and Ben Okri as an African writer. These differences are there. This for only reading. This only for criticizing the work, making criticism. These kind of labels may help, but for writing, for feeling a work, these labels are not any way helping. Sorry, I have to conclude this small talk. The first thing is, as a film person, I am living most of my time in a star hotel, but having a meeting, literary meeting in a star hotel is a very strange thing for me. Literature is a strange thing in a star hotel. I belong to a little magazine tradition. I am writing still in a little magazine. I am not a popular kind of writer. So this atmosphere is very strange to me. And again, my mentor, my ideal, Ashoka Mitra once told me, never speak English. You have a peculiar linguistic beauty in your style. You have a lot of colors in your own language. So if you try to speak in English, you lose it. From that time, I am always very careful not to speak in English. So I cannot express myself very effectively in English. And I'm sorry for that. Thank you.
But that said, I think you made my job a lot easier, because translating you on the spot would have been like Sunil Gavaskar playing T20. So thank you. Yeah, I think maybe we can conclude with this. While I was looking back at Araman's Stories of the True, it appeared to me that the seeds of the Tamil wiki was, sown back then, because these were in a way biographies of great people, and that's what you're taking forth in Tamil wiki. So why is it such a big dream for you, and especially when it's taking away time from your creative writing?
I have an organization in Tamil. It's a readers forum, Vishnupuram Literary Circle, based. The name is My Novel Vishnupuram, and I created an organization. And we are doing a lot of works. Actually, we created a new trend in Tamil. We took the serious kind of writers into mainstream, and we labeled them as major writers in Tamil. We are giving awards for senior writers for the past 12 years. We are conducting literary festivals every year in Coimbatore. And that Vishnupuram Literary Circle is the only literary circle conducted by the readers of a single author. And so there is Tamil Wikipedia. Tamil Wikipedia is there. Their way of working is anybody can write anything and anybody can edit. That's a very good thing in English Wikipedia, because an average Englishman, it is a truth that an average Englishman has a faith on intellectual honesty. An average Englishman has a faith on data, facts. So you cannot put a wrong data in the English wiki easily. Somebody will correct you immediately. Not in Tamil. Indians, we have no faith on data. Indians, we have no respect on real truth. We are communal. We are prejudiced. and we are very much politicalized. If a set of people highly corrupted by political ideologies can interrupt into Wikipedia, they can change anything. You cannot fight with them. So I was fighting with some fringe groups working on Tamil Wikipedia for more than 10 years, and I lost my patience. And I started one Wikipedia in Tamil as Tamil Wiki. I launched it on May 2022 in Washington. And we already published 5,000 entries in that Tamil Wikipedia. Nearly 100 people, 100 readers are working on it in Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Singapore, America, US, and in India. We are creating detailed, authentic data on our culture and literature. And there is an edited board with eminent scholars in it. So it is the first that kind of work in Indian languages. There are a lot of Wikipedia, like Wikipedia online encyclopedias in India. But this is the first private Wikipedia in India. There is already a very popular online encyclopedia in Bengal. That is Banglapedia. You may know Banglapedia. But it is run by two governments, West Bengal government and East Bengal government. Two governments. But this is run by a private institution called Vishnupuram Literary Circle. Okay, we are taking it as a challenge to complete at least 1 lakh entries within 10 years.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, big round of applause for our speakers, the Jeyamohan, Priyamvada Ramkumar. Thank you so much.